Welcome back to Learn Maths with Kalpana. So we are learning squares and square roots. So in this video, we will learn about properties of squares. To understand the properties of squares, first we will refer this table. So here you can see that some numbers are given and the square of those numbers are also given. So here square of 1 is 1, square of 2 is 4, square of 3 is 9 and 4 is 16 and so on. So here you can see the numbers are given from number 1 to 20. So we can see all the numbers 1 to 10 and from 11 to 20 and all the square of these numbers. So in these square numbers, see this properly. Okay. So here you can see in the square numbers, the units place of these square numbers are having the numbers 1, 4, 9, 6, 5, 6, 9, 4, 1, 0, again 1, 4, 9, 6, 5, 6, 9, 4, 1, 0. So what I want to say is here in this square numbers in the units place you cannot see the number 3 or 7 or 8. Can you see that? Or 2 is also not there. So 2 is not there, 3 is not there, 7 is not there and 8 is not there. So what do we understand from this? So here, all these numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6, or 9 at units place. These square numbers I'm talking about. None of these are ending with the numbers 2, 3, 7, or 8 at its units place. So we will draw some conclusions by observing these square numbers from this table. So what are the conclusions? The first thing is that if a number has 2, 3, 7, or 8 at its units place, then it's not a perfect square number, because here you can see that any number means the square number, any square number which is given to you is not having the numbers 2, 3, 7, or 8 in its units place. So that is why we can say that uh, if a number is having 2, 3, 7, or 8 at its units place, then it's not a perfect square number. Similarly, the another conclusion which we can draw over here is if a number is having 0, 1, 4, 5, 6, or 9 at its units place, then it can be a perfect square number. Remember that I'm saying the word it can be. I'm not saying that it is a perfect square number. I'm just saying that it can be a perfect square number. Because to find the perfect square number, we have other methods. So we will check afterwards whether that number is a perfect number or not. So just by looking at the number, if a number is having any of these numbers like 0, 1, 4, 5, 6, or 9 in its units place, then we can say that yeah, it is possible that this number is a square number. We have to check further. But if the number is having 2, 3, 7, or 8 at its units place, then it's not a perfect square number. It is for sure confirmed. Okay, so these are the two conclusions which we can draw from this table. Now we have some more properties to see. Now, property number 3. So here it says that if a number has 0 at its units place, but if it has odd number of zeros, then it's not a perfect square. Why? To understand this, I will just consider number 10. Okay. So if I take the square of number 10, then that will be 10 multiplied by 10. That will be equal to how much? That will be equal to 100. So 100 is a perfect square number because it is the square of number 10. So here you can see that two zeros are there. So if two zeros are there, we will say that it's a perfect square number. Now I'm writing another number, suppose 1000. So 1000, is it a perfect square number? No, it's not a perfect square number. Why? Because it is having three numbers or three zeros in its number. Okay. So after 1 you are having three zeros. So that is why it is not a perfect square number. Because any number, if I am considering 30 and if I am going to take a square of this, then I will get it as equal to 900. Okay. So I'm getting even number of zeros. Similarly, if I write 40, then square of 40 will be equal to 1600. Again, even number of squares are there. If I want to find out the square of suppose 500, then 500 will be equal to 25, then two zeros. Okay, how much is this? 2,50,000, or we can say that 250,000. Okay, so this is also a perfect square number. And how many number of zeros are there? Total four number of zeros are there. So if the number is having zero in its units place, then you have to count the number of zeros in that number. If the number of zeros are even, then that number is a perfect square number. If the number of zeros are not even, like I can write 5000, or I can write 25,000, this is also not a perfect square number. Although 25 is a perfect square number, but 25,000 is not a perfect square number. Okay, so if the number of zeros are odd, then that will not be a perfect square number. Because if we take the square of any number which is consisting of a zero, then it will have even number of zeros. Like if I'm taking the square of 10, then I'm getting 100. So in 100 I'm having two zeros, which is a even number. So that is why this 100 can be considered as a perfect square number, but 1000 cannot be a perfect square number. Okay, so this is the third property of squares. Now let's see number 4. The smallest perfect square number is 1. So, if we consider the perfect square numbers, then the smallest perfect square number is 1. Because if you take the square of 1, then 1 cross 1, it is equal to 1. So, this is a perfect square number. Okay. Now, the fifth property is, if a number has 1 or 9 in its units place, then its squares end in 1. Like if I take the square of 11, so what is the square of 11? That will be equal to 121. Similarly, suppose I am considering the square of 21, so square of 21 will be equal to 441. Similarly, suppose I am considering square of 9, so 9 square is equal to 81. Then similarly, suppose I am considering 19 square. 19 square is equal to 361. So what do you see? In all these numbers, in the units place, you can see 1 is there. Here, all these numbers are having 1. So we can conclude that if a number is having 1 or 9, okay, and if you take a square of that number, then the squared number will have 1 in its units place. Okay, so after squaring the numbers, you will get 1 in its units place. Like this number 11, where the units place is 1. Similarly, 21, where the units place is 1. 19, where the units place is 9. 29, here the units place is 9. So all these numbers, if you find the square, then the square numbers will have 1 in its units place. So that is our property number 5. So just by looking at the number, you can say that this number can be a square of a number which will have a 1 or 9 in its units place. So that is what property 5 is. Now coming to property number 6. So according to property number 6, if a number is having 2 or 8 in its units place, then its square ends in 4. Like consider 12. So 12 square is equal to 144. 8 square is equal to 64. 18 square is equal to 324. Okay, 2 square is equal to 44. Sorry, 4. I'm sorry. So all these numbers you can see in 12 in the units place I'm having 2. In 18 in the units place I'm having 8. 8 and 2. All these numbers when I'm finding out the square, then I'm getting 4 in the units place in of the squared number. So whenever we are finding the square of a number which is having 2 or 8 in its units place, and if you square that number, then you will get the number in which the units place will always be having 4. Okay, so that is what the property 6 is. I think that is clear now. Now moving on to property 7. If a number has 3 or 7 in its units place, then the square ends in 9. So I'm considering 3. So 3 square is equal to 9. 7 square is equal to 49. 13 square is equal to 169. And 17 square is equal to 289. And so on, you can find other numbers also. So here you can see when I'm finding out 3 square or 13 square, I'm ending up with a number which is having 9 in its units place. Similarly, 7 square and 17 square is also having 9 in its units place. Okay, so here and here also you are having 9. So if a number is and has 3 or 7 in its units place, then if you find the square of that number, then that square number will have 9 in its units place, or we can say that that square number ends in 9. Okay, now moving on to property 8. If a number has 4 or 6 in its units place, then its square ends in 6. So this is another property. So to see this property, let's consider suppose 4 square. One second. So 4 square is equal to 16, and 6 square is equal to 36. Similarly, 14 square is equal to 196, and 16 square is equal to 256. So in all these numbers, you can see the number 6 in its units place. So if a number is having 4 or 6 in its units place, and if you're finding out the square of that number, then you will see that the square number ends with 6, or the square number will have 6 in its units place. That is what property number 8 is. Now the last property, that is the ninth property, is if a number has 5 in its units place, then its square ends in 5. So this, I think all of you know about this. Like we have suppose number 5. So if I take the square of 5 square, then I will write it as equal to 25. Similarly, what will be the square of uh, 25? So 25 square will be equal to 6 to 5, and so on. If you find the square of a number which is ending with 5, then obviously the square number will also end in 5. So these are some of the properties of square numbers. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you all understood this. If you have any doubt, then let me know in the comment section. In the next video, we will see some more facts about squares. So see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.